Good morning. Welcome to today's CalCAP Lender Roundtable. Thank you for joining us. I'm Doreen Smith, one of the CalCAP managers. Joining me today is Isabel Becerra, my CalCAP co-manager. We also have our entire CalCAP team and our Deputy Executive Director, Janie Davis, here. Today I have a personnel announcement, and I am pleased to introduce CPCFA's Interim Executive Director, Derek Chernow. Derek is also the Executive Director of our sister agency, CATFA, the Alternative Energy and Transportation Financing Authority. Derek has extensive experience in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors, working on many important environmental and transit-related issues. Welcome, Derek. Would you like to say hello, Derek, real quick?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be joining all of you and looking forward to working with you in the year ahead.
Great, thank you. Okay, our agenda today includes CalCAP by the numbers, borrower statistics, the extension of the severely affected community contribution, the online application process, and the media release form. We also have the California Air Resources Board staff joining us today. They will be presenting CARB updates for you. If you have any questions during the presentation, please use the chat feature. We will address questions today as time allows at the end of the presentation and follow up with you individually if needed afterwards. We'll start today with the statistics on our small business program. For this current year, 2021, year to date, we have enrolled 74 loans for $3.5 million. CalCAP has made $54,235 in contributions. We've processed 28 claims for an amount of $338,110. Overall, for the life of the small business program, 15,977 loans have been enrolled for $686.9 million. CalCAP has made $21.3 million in contributions on those loans. 1,155 claims for $17.3 million have been paid. The borrower statistics that CalCAP gathers from their enrollment form are important in showing the reach of the CalCAP programs. CalCAP and the Treasurer use this data to support the success of the programs and justify new funds to support the continued success of the programs. The application forms include checkboxes for you to indicate yes, no, or decline to answer regarding whether the business is a minority-owned, woman-owned, or a veteran-owned business. We request that you select the appropriate categories to indicate this so that we can further gather these statistics. For the small business program, for 2021, we've enrolled 62 loans for a minority-owned business, 26 loans for women-owned business, and 1 loan for a veteran-owned business. For the life of the program, we've enrolled 12,165 loans for minority-owned businesses, 5,448 loans for women-owned businesses, and 210 loans for veteran-owned businesses. And as I've stated, this information is only gathered if it is marked on the application form, so we would appreciate you completing this. Okay. For the CalCAP Air Resources Board Heavy-Duty Truck Program, for current year 2021, we've enrolled 889 loans for $69 million. This has included 928 trucks and 35 trailers being financed. CalCAP has made $6.9 million in contributions. 74 claims have been processed for $2.3 million. Over the life of the program, 30,772 loans have been enrolled for $2 billion. 31,630 trucks and 918 trailers were financed. CalCAP made $151.9 million in contributions. Total of 2,365 claims have been paid for $84.1 million. The borrower statistics for the Air Resources Board program are that 341 loans were enrolled for minority-owned businesses this year, 28 loans enrolled for women-owned businesses, and 7 loans enrolled for veteran-owned businesses. For the life of the program, 12,173 loans were enrolled for minority-owned businesses, 1,437 loans were enrolled for women-owned businesses, and 249 loans were enrolled for veteran-owned businesses. For the CalCAP Collateral Support Program, so far this year, we've enrolled 2 loans for $3.3 million, made $1.1 million in CalCAP contributions. We've processed 1 claim for $16,413. For the life of the Collateral Support Program, 331 loans have been enrolled for $27.17 million, $80.6 million in contributions were made. We've had a total of 14 claims for $4.3 million. The program statistics for the Collateral Support Program is for 2021, 2 loans were enrolled for minority-owned businesses, 2 loans for women-owned businesses. For the life of the program, 92 loans were enrolled for minority-owned businesses, 80 loans were enrolled for women-owned businesses, 11 loans were enrolled for veteran-owned businesses. For the electric vehicle charging station program, in 2021, we've enrolled 1 loan for $500,000, and CalCAP made $150,000 in contributions. Over the life of the program, 3 loans have been enrolled for $1.1 million. CalCAP has paid $252,225 in contributions, and $76,112 were issued in rebates to the borrowers. For the life of the program, for the electric vehicle charging program, 1 loan was enrolled for a minority-owned business, and 2 loans were enrolled for women-owned businesses. For the seismic safety program, we've enrolled a total of 3 loans in this program for $285,000, and CalCAP made $35,000 in contributions. For the life of the program, 2 loans were enrolled for minority-owned businesses, and 2 loans were enrolled for women-owned businesses. Okay. CalCAP provides a supplemental contribution for loans that are made in a severely affected community for the small business, collateral support, seismic safety, and ADA financing programs. In addition to borrowers located in high unemployment areas, we also provide this contribution to borrowers affected by natural disasters and the COVID-19 pandemic. We have extended the contribution for borrowers affected by COVID-19 to March 4th, 2022. If a borrower's business is affected by COVID-19, please complete the supplemental contribution form and include it with the loan enrollment application. This form can be found on the CalCAP website, and the link is listed on this slide. As many of you know and have started using, CalCAP has an online loan enrollment application process that we encourage you to use. Benefits to the online application process are that it's quick, easy, reduces errors, provides live status updates on enrollments, and increases efficiency and reduces processing time. Registration is easy. The link is provided here, and CalCAP staff is available to assist you in setting up your account and working through the new process with you. Once an account is activated, lenders can submit and review all of the loans they've submitted via the online application website. This slide is an example of an application status that's available for review by the lender. CalCAP has developed a media release form. CalCAP would like to share the success of small businesses financed by the programs. CalCAP and the Treasurer's Office participate in many outreach events to promote the benefits of all CalCAP programs. We'd appreciate the ability to promote specific borrowers and businesses. Completion of this form will allow CalCAP to share this information. This release form is found on the CalCAP website at the link listed. I will now hand the presentation over to Eric Patton with the Air Resources Board to provide you with updates regarding heavy-duty truck compliance. Go ahead, Eric. Looks like you need to unmute yourself, Eric.
Okay, can you hear me now, Doreen?
Yes, thank you, Eric. Go ahead.
Thanks. Good morning, everybody, and thanks a lot, Doreen. An item I'd like to highlight today is CARB's upcoming heavy-duty vehicle inspection and maintenance regulation. This regulation is scheduled to come to the CARB board in December. Senate Bill 210 has required that CARB develop a heavy-duty inspection and maintenance program in partnership with state agencies, including Department of Motor Vehicles and Bureau of Automotive Repair. The regulation is basically analogous to the smog check for heavy-duty, analogous to a smog check for heavy-duty vehicles. To find out about the regulation, see the hyperlink in the slide and attend the workshop on the 29th. We were interested in receiving input from the lenders on the call on easing the financial burden of compliance for small fleets, as they may lack the ability to afford repairs to get into compliance with the regulation. An example idea for consideration is the financing of aftermarket warranties, about $6,000, that could cover unforeseen repairs. So I have a couple questions I'd like to ask for lenders on the call for input. So my first question is, would any lenders be interested in financing warranties outside of the CARB truck loan program?
Okay, and we would appreciate lenders going ahead and using the chat feature to respond to Eric's questions, and we will compile these all at the end of the webinar. And also, we would appreciate you following up with email if you have additional answers that would assist CARB. Go ahead, Eric. Thank you.
Thanks, Doreen. Well, I can go on to the second question unless there's any lenders that wanted to comment. But my second question is, would lenders enroll warranties under the existing CalCAP small business program or other programs? And then my third question is, what would encourage lenders to lend for aftermarket warranties? And my final question is, are there any other options we should consider?
Okay. So each of you will follow up after this webinar with these questions in writing. And once you've had time to think about it, CARB and CalCAP would really appreciate as much lender input as we can get here. So thank you. Go ahead, Eric.
Okay, so our time's limited, so I'm going to move on to our next CARB topics. So today, Randy Alpfer from our CARB Mobile Source Training Group is going to present a short slideshow on California's zero-emission plans, as they will have an increasing impact on the loan program in the future. In addition to the update he's going to provide, we are looking for input on how to make the financing of zero-emission vehicles a reality. Randy?
Thanks, Eric. Hey, everybody, I believe that some of you have met in person in one of our events before, and I look forward to the day that we can all get together on one of these other events and meet again. As we go through the story, and I'm going to ask you to forward the slides if that's okay, but let's start with this one. No, stay back on the other slide. Sorry, I went a little too fast. You know, between the governor's executive order and the California Air Resources Board's upcoming advanced clean and trucks and advanced clean fleets regulations, California is moving towards zero-emission vehicles. We want to give an update on California's zero-emission plans and how we can better partner with you to provide stakeholders with a clear picture of what loans can do to help them achieve this goal. Okay, next slide, please. While I'm going to try and keep this presentation brief today, we will touch on some of the specifics of California's zero-emission plans, such as the governor's executive orders, upcoming CARB regulations, and even memorandums of understanding that we have entered with states outside California. We'll talk about CARB's funding investments that have been made to support zero-emission goal. We want to talk about what type of zero-emission vehicles are currently available and what we expect in the near future. Finally, we're going to discuss how all of this comes together in relation to you and why financing of zero-emission vehicles could be beneficial. Next slide. Okay, so it all starts with Governor Newsom's executive order N-79-20. This calls for the elimination of new internal combustion passenger vehicles by 2035. That means that all new passenger vehicles sold in California are directed to be zero emission by 2035. CARB is to develop medium and heavy duty vehicle regulations requiring increasing volumes of near zero or new zero emission trucks and buses sold and operated in the state towards the target of 100% of the fleet transitioning to zero emission vehicles by 2045, at least everywhere that it's feasible, and for all drayage trucks to be zero emission by 2035. Other executive orders are also in place to move California towards greenhouse gas reductions and carbon neutrality. Now, all of this is to say that CARB is not the lone legislative body in the push towards zero emission vehicles. Next slide. All right, so CARB has put forth regulations to both meet the goals set by the governor and to move towards lowering overall emissions by using zero emission vehicles. This effort began with the innovative Clean Transit Regulation and Airport Shuttle Regulation, on to more recent regulations like Advanced Clean Trucks. CARB has begun transitioning many sectors in the heavy-duty and off-road markets to zero emission. The newest proposed regulation, Advanced Clean Fleets, will seek to continue that, but will not be the last regulation of its kind. More efforts are already being planned in the future and to achieve this overall goal. Let's take a look at what some of these regulations entail. Next slide, please. Okay, the Advanced Clean Trucks Regulation, which went to the board in 2020 and was adopted by the Office of Administrative Law earlier this month, requires manufacturers who certify Class 2B through 8 chassis or complete vehicles with combustion engines to sell zero-emission trucks as an increasing percentage of their annual California sales from 2024 to 2035. The projected zero-emission truck population is 30,000 by 2027, 100,000 by 2030, and 300,000 trucks by 2035. The second part of the Advanced Clean Trucks Regulation is the large entity reporting requirement. The purpose of the reporting is to help us shape the next regulation in line, the Advanced Clean Fleets. Next slide. Okay, so the Advanced Clean Fleets Regulation is currently a proposed regulation. It's meant to align with the manufacturer sales requirements laid out in the Advanced Clean Trucks. Advanced Clean Fleets will use information provided in the large entity reporting to maximize zero-emission technologies where feasible. The initial focus will be on truck types and use cases that are most suitable. This regulation will target the largest fleets and businesses for early deployment. Between the manufacturer requirement of advanced clean trucks and the owner purchasing requirements of advanced clean fleets, we're looking to enable full transition to ZEVs with the secondary market. As with all of our regulations, we are trying to encourage early action to achieve emission reductions. Next slide, please. Right, when advanced clean trucks was adopted by the board, there were multiple states outside California that signed a memorandum of understanding that included goals to support the rapid expansion of the ZEV truck market. The highlighted states, including California, Connecticut, Colorado, DC, Hawaii, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington, account for roughly 40% of truck sales in the United States today. Next slide, please. CARB does have programs in place to help incentivize owner-operators to invest in ZEV technologies when purchasing a new vehicle, whether it's standard financial assistance through one of our incentive funds or a demo and pilot investments to show that the technology is currently available. CARB uses funds to get more zero-emission vehicles on the road. Details on these investments can be seen in CARB's annual Low Carbon Transportation Investments and Air Quality Improvement Program funding plan. Next slide, please. While we're still in the early stages of large-scale manufacturing when it comes to zero-emission vehicles, there are many major manufacturers who are already working on entering the ZEV market. Most major manufacturers have plans to enter the ZEV market before 2024. Manufacturers like Freightliner, Peterbilt, Volvo, and others expect to have heavy-duty tractors available in 2021. However, some of these expected rollout dates have been delayed due to COVID. Now, at this point, I also want to acknowledge the level of connection and experience that many of you have being in this industry and associated with the finance arms of the manufacturers. We believe this can only help us move forward. Next slide, please. All right, so the transit and shuttle buses, those regulations led the way for what's possible, and the equipment led the way for what's possible for zero-emission vehicles. Zero-emission buses are already available in nearly all configurations, and a wide range of zero-emission trucks are also commercially available today. The truck market benefits from technology transfer and experience from ZE passenger cars and buses. Because of this, costs are declining rapidly, and innovative designs are expanding in all markets. Next slide, please. We know that zero-emission trucks have a higher upfront cost. They have lower operating costs than conventional trucks as well. The total cost of ownership can be comparable for certain duty cycles. The HVIP site has a helpful tool that calculates total cost of ownership, which can be found at the address on this slide. Next slide, please. All right, so at this point, I'm done with the basic part of the presentation. We have several questions on the screen here that, Eric, did you want to read these or do you want me to go ahead and read these? It doesn't really matter, I suppose.
Yeah, Randy, I can read through them. So yes, thanks, Randy. As Randy's covered the background and the zero-emission trucks, illustrating that it's the direction the state is heading, we thought we'd ask you a few questions that gauge lender experience to date and discuss obstacles to financing zero-emission trucks. So the first question being there at the top, does your organization already finance zero-emission trucks, or do you plan to soon? This second question, what are the concerns with lending for zero-emission trucks? Could it include infrastructure, insurance, residual value, being unknown, or something else? And then the last question, what would help surmount these issues? So, Doreen, has anybody raised their hand or asked any questions or supplied me?
Yeah, we do have a couple raised hands, so go ahead. Matt, go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Matt Schrapp with Crossroads Equipment Lease and Finance, and thank you, Randy and Eric, for that thoughtful presentation. And welcome, Derek. We look forward, I'm sure all of us lenders are looking forward to working with you. Just had a couple questions. You don't need to go back in the slide, but Eric, maybe you can just help us as lenders totally understand the aftermarket warranty. Were you thinking that it would be something that would happen after the transaction had already taken place, or at the same time of the transaction, and then subsequently being a different reserve pool, so to speak, or contribution only for the warranty? Just wanted to get some clarification on that, and then I would have some comments on this ZEV side of things, but if you could clarify that, that would be very helpful, I think.
So Matt, when you say after the transaction is taking place, what do you mean?
Well, typically when we do a transaction for a truck sale, if the guy is, or the borrower is purchasing a truck, a used vehicle, and wants some type of aftermarket third-party warranty, then we would typically just do that at time of transaction. It wouldn't necessarily be done as a separate line item later after the truck had already been sold. So it's something that we would try to bunch in when the truck is purchased. But so the thought would be, I guess, is you guys saying if someone came after the transaction or maybe during the transaction looking to enroll that aftermarket warranty amount into a separate program, or were you guys just envisioning trying to lump this all together?
Yeah, so yeah, it'd be like, well, the current truck loan program, you can get, when you're getting a loan for an eligible vehicle, you can get the warranty with it and finance the whole thing. But so this would be like afterwards, somebody that outside the loan program, would it be possible would lenders be able to cover like a loan for a warranty that somebody has a truck already?
So it would be essentially a second loan for the warranty only is what you guys are asking for.
Yeah, right. Yeah, something outside the loan program, potentially, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification. And then just on the ZEV side of things, while we still have a couple years left before the 2023 standard kicks in for the remaining vehicles in the legacy fleet, let's call it, there is still a significant need for lending for clean diesel equipment. As a lender, so far we've done dozens of loans for near zero emission vehicles, but so far haven't been able to finance any full zero emission battery electric or hydrogen trucks. And primarily that is due to a lack of available options in the heavy duty side. And with that high capital upfront cost, as you had mentioned, Randy, it makes it especially difficult for CalCAP eligible borrowers under the on-road program to get into this equipment, even with a significant incentive fund attached to it. So for lenders, I know unless you're attached directly to an OEM, the residual value is a big question that is going to not scare lenders away from it, but definitely gives you pause because we're not sure what the secondary market looks like at this point in time. I think that is a large concern outside of course, infrastructure. Where are you going to charge the thing? How much is it going to cost to charge you? There's a lot of unknown questions, but I think that one thing that always helps lenders, especially when they're dealing with eligible borrowers, is a reserve contribution that's reflective of the transaction itself. So a higher reserve contribution, I imagine, would help lenders get over some of those hurdles. The other thing is that perhaps the size threshold needs to be revisited when we're talking about zero emission vehicles in particular. The $10 million in gross annual revenue over 3 years. I feel like, and I'd be interested to hear what other lenders thought, that a higher amount would bring more companies into the fold that would help, I guess, seed this reserved pool type concept. I imagine that whatever ARB is doing, I know there's some bills going through the legislature right now that would look to set up a zero emission loan program, but hopefully it would be separate from the existing CalCAP program merely to protect the integrity of the program and the reserve pools that currently exist for many lenders. So just some thoughts, and appreciate your guys' time. We are definitely in a changing era when it comes to transportation in California. And if we look closely at the Advanced Clean Fleets rule, it's relatively clear that it will not just be large entities that are caught up in this. It will be anyone who essentially is brokering more than 50 vehicles at a single time in California, which pretty much brings almost every single for-hire carrier into the play, whether you're a one truck or 49 truck operator. So the magnitude of this is probably a little larger than what we've initially anticipated here from the current concepts of the regulatory language. So any support that the state can provide lenders to help protect us will be welcome. So thank you very much. That's all.
Great, thank you, Matt. Okay, Kelly, you can go ahead.
With me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't sure.
Okay.
This is Kelly with Packer Financial, and in terms of, we are definitely thinking about lending for the infrastructure as well as the trucks themselves. We haven't really completely talked about what that looks like yet. We haven't had any real need for it yet, but we're definitely going to be looking at doing that, especially since we're obviously starting to build those trucks on the manufacturing side. So my question is have you guys thought about how you're going to support this type of lending? Is it going to be similar to what you're doing now, where it's a help on the back end if these go bad? Or have you guys kind of given any thought to that yet?
Eric, do you have a
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. It's more on the front end now. You know, we have HVIP right now, and then where you can get vouchers for getting a zero emission vehicle, and we are, you know, we're open to looking at how the truck loan program, you can finance a zero emission vehicle now. We made some updates to it some years back to allow that. So we're open to any suggestions as to how we could help increase the ability to finance zero emission vehicles in the current program.
Okay, and Jessica, it looks like you might have a contribution. If so,
yeah, thank you, Doreen.
Okay.
Hi, Kelly. I work at CARB with Eric and Randy, and I wanted to add on to Eric's response there. We are currently in the process of trying to understand more what some of the hurdles are to both lending for a zero emission truck and also accepting and implementing a zero emission truck in your fleet, especially for the smallest businesses. That's actually one of the discussion topics that we're going to be exploring through the funding plan process this year. I think Eric touched on it a little bit, but the funding plan happens each year, and that's how we determine how to spend our low carbon transportation and our air quality improvement program dollars. Our AQIP dollars are primarily the primary source of funding for our truck loan assistance program with CPCFA. As part of that total package this year, that is going to be one of the things that we're discussing, is how to assist small businesses in transitioning to zero emission trucks and what kind of support that they need. So we would definitely welcome any input from any of the lenders that have a perspective on that with your customers. Our first workshop is going to be on Tuesday, the 30th, coming up here, so just a week from today. And that is a public process, and we'd certainly welcome any input there. And then we're also planning a working group probably in the first part of April. So we can also share that with Doreen and Isabel so that they can get that out to the lenders too, if that's something that you'd be interested in. We'd certainly be interested in whatever input we have to be effective and supportive in that transition. So thanks for your question.
Okay. Yeah, so basically, right now, lender can submit a zero emission truck and get, that help on the back end for any sort of repossession. And then are you guys looking at doing that with the charging stations, or is it mostly just the trucks? I think that's obviously a big part of it, and we're looking at financing those potentially. I'm not sure how small of businesses will do that for, at least in the beginning, as we kind of start to get comfortable. But certainly something to probably take a look at, because like you said, we got to get everybody on this program eventually.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Jessica. Does anyone else have a comment? Oh, okay. Raise your hand if you want to say anything, but I would also like to let you all know that we've received several written comments right now, so thank you very much to each of you lenders who have submitted your input in writing to us. We will forward this information on to CARB staff, and like I said earlier, we will appreciate any comments and input you provide after the fact. And like Jessica stated, CARB will be having various workshops and things, and so your participation in that is helpful also. Okay, do we see any other questions?
This is Janie, the Deputy Director. Just one other thing I'd like to add is our CalCAP program, as part of our CalCAP program, we do have an electric vehicle charging station financing program that we have in place in coordination with the California Energy Commission. And if anybody is interested in looking at charging for their small businesses or their trucking businesses, please reach out to Doreen or Isabel to get information on that program. We do have funding available for the electric vehicle charging station program. And unlike the CARB program and our CalCAP for Small Business program, there is a rebate component to it. So if the loan is successfully paid off, we are able to offer the borrower a rebate on their loan. So just wanted to plug our other CalCAP program.
Great. Okay, thank you, Janie. Okay then. So as another reminder to you all, one way to stay up to date on everything CalCAP is to follow us on Twitter at CalCBCFA. We also recommend you sign up for our listserv so that you, this way you'll receive any notices that come from CPCFA and things related to all of our programs. So we encourage you to sign up. And now that concludes today's presentation. We thank you very much to Jessica, Eric, and Randy from the Air Resources Board for joining us today and providing all this important information. Are there any other questions from anyone at this time?
We're going to make the presentation available.
Oh, yes. The presentation will be available on the website later, so you can access it. Okay, so we have one question in regards to the SAC contribution regarding COVID. Is there yes, both the borrower and the lender will sign the form, but the lender relies on the borrower's certification to the impact. So you're not required to obtain any more information from the borrower. The form indicates specific things like, say, loss of customers due to COVID. So you can get that information from the borrower and check the appropriate checkbox. But if you access the form on our website and have further questions, please let us know. We'd like to provide the extra contribution for these businesses that have been affected by that. So please use the form. Okay. So thank you for joining us today. And as always, You can contact us at calcap@treasurer.ca.gov. We appreciate your participation in our programs, and thank you very much for joining us. Have a great day, everyone.